The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Grandpichet and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Grandpichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grandpichet.
Dr. Grandpichet.
Dr. Doreen Grandpichet.
Dr. Doreen Grandpichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. There was another question that somebody had written in, if you guys have a question right now, write it in because we're at the end of the hour. But how do you teach intraverbals? I think we get this question more than anything else.
Yeah. And it's important to, I don't think, so let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah, and explain what it is
Yeah,
for
exactly.
people who don't
And
know
I
the
don't
term.
think that parents want just to teach interverbals. I think when a parent says, how do you teach interverbals? What they're asking is, how do I get my child to be conversational?
It's exactly. But now what I love is we're at the point where they've learned the term interverbal. They know that's what's missing. So they're asking, how do I teach that?
But a lot more could be missing. That's my point. It's like,
Love
okay,
it.
so here's the way that I look at it. And that's why I kind of become like, I want to translate it.
Okay.
Because interverbals are where when you talk in ABA lingo,
Yeah.
it's the highest level. Okay. And that's why parents think that's where they should be. There's a lot more past that. So that's kind of why I want to. So where we're at is, so first, when you look at developmental, and all of this, by the way, is based on B.F. Skinner's work with using behavioral psychology to teach language and verbal behavior. That's what it was called, verbal behavior. And the way that he looked at it was that everything is behavior, but verbal behavior in kids kind of develops in a particular pattern in typically developing kids. And it starts with manding, which is requesting things, very simple. And usually it's requesting things, initially it's requesting things that are visible, that they're right in front of you, or like the child will just point to something. That's the other thing. That's kind of interesting. And a lot of our kids on the spectrum, they don't really learn to point. They will try to grab, but they don't do this, which is one of the other, it's an executive functioning, joint attention thing. But anyway, so asking, and then there's labeling, and that's like, if you imagine the 2 or 3 year old in the back of the car, kind of just, oh, truck, policeman, whatever. And there's just everything they see, they label. And that increases because there's all these other things happening where they learn colors and they learn sizes and shapes. And then it becomes like red car, blue engine, whatever. And they just automatically start to increase that tact. That's called tacting, labeling. And then we start talking about things that are not visually present. And those are intraverbals. And that becomes super important to parents because it affects so many different things. But I don't look at it as just an intraverbal because there's so many different types, right? So you could, for instance, a parent could come and say, I really just want my child to tell me what's going on at school, how his day was. Yeah. Yes, that does involve a lot of use of intraverbals, but it has a lot to do with lots of different things. It requires attention, it requires memory tasks, it requires being able to organize thoughts, it requires being able to describe things which were present visually. Like there's a lot of other stuff that is required. And then ultimately, yes, he needs to be able to answer questions or respond about things that are not visually in front of him. And so I think that's kind of how we built skills. In fact, what we did with skills is we first built all the lessons, and then we put the verbal behavior terminology on a different page of skills. It does show you kind of what is an intraverbal, what's not. But I think it's a lot more important to kind of focus on the type of intraverbal that your child needs to learn. And it's a process, just like I said in the beginning. I could teach a child one intraverbal type response, the sky is blue, whatever, but I wouldn't be able to teach the child the formula behind how to use intervals unless I've already taught him a lot of tacts, a lot of mans, and a whole bunch of other things that have to do with what to attend to, how to remember things, how to build sentence, all that. So there's the stuff that we talked at the beginning of this show. There's a lot more that has to happen before your child starts to actually communicate using intraverbals.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.